And today we're going to talk about the first and probably the most important part of this class in general, and that is the um, naming and drawing of points, lines, planes, line segments, rays, and angles. We're going to basically look at how we're going to name these things. How do you draw these things? This is going to be stuff you're going to use for this entire book, for this entire class. So this is one of the most important segments that we're going to watch, or you're going to watch here in this video class. All right, so we're going to start out by naming, drawing points, lines, planes, line segments, rays, and angles. We're going to look at points and lines here first. Okay, obviously a point. It comes to points and lines and planes. The first three, they're all what we call undefined terms, and you should have already written down a definition for this. For what undefined term is. And it's basically just kind of an understood notion of, okay, this is what this is. We don't really have a definition for it, but we all understand what it is and what's given to us. Okay, so what we need to look at is, what is a point? Okay, it's just like it sounds. It's just a point. It's just a dot. Okay, it's just a dot. Just like you would think. Okay. Now, we name a point, or we identify when we draw a point, we give it a capital letter. So we'll call that A. All right? So a point is always a dot with a capital letter. Okay? Could be anywhere. Just some random points here. We always name a point with a capital letter. When we draw it, we always give it a capital letter to identify that point. Now, when we name this, okay, we always name it. We just write the word point, and we might say point A, okay, or point B, or whatever, point C, okay. Put the word point with whatever letter it is that we want to use to identify. Okay? So that's point. A line, okay, a line is a group of points, okay, a group of infinite points that go in two different directions or go off into infinite directions. Okay? So a line is a infinite number of points together forms a line. Okay, so we see it as a line, but if we were to zoom in real close on this microscopically, we would see that it's just a bunch of little dots together. Boom, 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 points. Okay, that's what forms that line. Okay? Now, we name a line by using two of the points. We identify two of the points on this line. Okay, now a line is going to have infinitely many points. Okay? When we name this line, though, we need to pick two of those points. It could be any two. Okay, if I wanted to name this line, I could call this AB. Let me just put a little line above it with arrows. Okay, or this could be BC, or it could be AD. Okay, or AC. Doesn't matter. We can use any of those points. Any points. There's infinitely many points on this line. We use any combination of two of those points to name that line. Okay. The other important part is you've got to have this part on top. Okay, that's how we tell the difference between a line and a line segment, an array, and all these different linear pictures we're going to look at. The way we identify which kind we're talking about is what shape is above the letters. So in this case, we have this line with two arrows on the end. That tells me that this isn't a line that we're talking about. This is a line that we're talking about. Okay, so this part here is important. So you need to make sure that's always there when you're naming a line. If you don't put that on a quiz, you're going to get that question wrong. Okay, you're going to get that wrong. If I say name the line on this plane or name this line, whatever, if you don't put that part, you're going to miss points there. Okay, so make sure you always have that to identify whether it's a line, line segment, or array. You have to put that, whatever shape needs to be above that. Okay, so that's point. There's lines. That's how we name them. Okay, the next one we're going to go on to is planes and line segments. Planes and line segments. Okay, so a plane is a flat surface. Usually we draw what you'll future will learn is what we call a parallelogram to represent that plane. Okay, so a plane is a surface. So we have lines is a single line. A plane is a two-dimensional surface. It has length and it has width. It just has no depth. It's only two-dimensional. So it has length, it has width, and any plane will have points on it. Okay? Notice the points are everywhere. They don't line up. Okay? They don't necessarily line up. Okay? And we'll talk about that in a later video. Right now, we just need to know that a plane has infinite number of points on it, just like a line does, but they're everywhere. They don't line up in a single line. They're all over the place. They form what we call a plane. Okay? Now, to name this plane, we're going to use the word plane. Okay? Just like we use the word point. And then we got to pick 3 points. So to name a plane, you got to write the word plane, and you're going to write 3 points that are on that surface. Okay? So in this case, it could be plane ABD. Okay? Or it could be plane ACE. Okay? You just need to pick 3 letters that are on that surface, that flat surface that we're calling that plane. We need to put 3 letters that are on that surface. The other way that we can name that is with a script letter, capital letter. So like we could call this like P. It's kind of a script P. This could be plane P. Okay? It's kind of a script. You'll see when you look at it in the book and do the homework, you'll see they have some funky letters that kind of go with that. All right, so that's how we name a plane. Line segment. Okay? Difference between a line segment and a line is a line is infinite. A line segment is not. A line segment has a beginning and it has an end. Okay? So when we look at a line segment, okay, a line segment will have a point at the beginning and at the end. There's no arrows. Notice the difference between the line and a line segment. No arrows. Okay, so now when I name this line segment, okay, we're going to use the endpoints, A and B in this case, and we just put a line above it. No arrows on it. Okay, so we have another line segment here that we can call EF or whatever. Okay, so that would be named E. We use the endpoints and we put a little line above it. Okay, notice that there's no arrows on the ends of these, no arrows on the ends of these like we have with line. So that's the difference between line segment and line. Remember I said how important this part here was? Okay, again, remember this is important. We use this to identify what it is we're talking about. Are we talking about a line or are we talking about a line segment? Is it infinite or does it begin and end? Okay, so it's important. As we get into more complicated or more complex ideas in this class, you're going to need to be able to identify between a line segment or a line. Okay, that's going to be important. All right, so that's how we name a plane. Plane, write the word plane, pick any 3 letters on the surface. Line segment, endpoints, beginning, end. We use those letters. We draw the little line segment symbol above those 2 letters. Okay, next then, we have rays and angles. Okay, so a ray is another part of a line. So we have line is the main idea of when we line up points in a linear fashion, the infinite line, okay, that's like the big thing. A segment is a part of a line. A ray is also going to be part of a line, okay? A ray is defined as an endpoint, having an endpoint, and then it goes to infinity. So it only has 1 arrow, okay? It has 1 arrow. It'll still have letters on it, and I'll go ahead and put a couple letters on here. All right. So a ray has a single endpoint. In this case, the A is an endpoint for that ray. And then it has the other direction, and it could go either way. Okay. The other direction has an infinite arrow on it. So let's just draw another ray on here. We'll call this E, put an F, and maybe a G on there too. Okay, so there's an example of 2 different rays. That's what they look like. That's what a ray looks like. You draw a ray with one end point and then an arrow going in any direction. The direction's irrelevant. Okay, the direction's irrelevant. Now, if I want to name these rays, the first part is I got to use the end point. So if I'm going to name this first one, if I was going to name this one here, okay, I have to use the A. Okay? Now, I can use any of the other letters on that line going in the direction that I want. Okay? So I could say C, B, or D, it doesn't matter. Okay? I'm just going to pick D. All right, so I picked those two letters. The endpoint, again, we have to pick the endpoint. And then I can pick any other letter along that line to name that ray. Okay? Then, to identify that this is a ray we're talking about, we're going to draw the ray symbol above, which is a line segment, or a line with just one arrow on it. Redraw that. Okay, it's a line with just one arrow on it. Guess it's not much better, is it? All right, so that's a ray symbol. So again, remember, talked about how important those parts that were above there are. That's how I identify that's a ray. If I was going to name this ray, okay, this is going to be ray EF. Put the little ray symbol. And we always draw, now when we name these, we do always draw the arrow to the right. I guess it's not that big of a deal which way you put it, okay, but we usually put it to the right. All right, so those are rays. So we have, again, we have the three main linear shapes. We have lines, which are infinite, a line segment, which is a part of a line, begins and ends, and we have a ray, which is another part of the infinite line, which has one ending, okay, a beginning, but no end, I guess is probably the easiest way to think of it. It has a beginning, but no end. It goes on forever in the other direction, okay? So those are rays. Angles. Last thing with this section here. An angle to draw is a combination of rays. Okay, so it's two rays put together. So here's a ray, here's a ray. It's two rays that share an endpoint. That endpoint is what we call the vertex. Okay, we call that point there, we'll give it a letter here, A. Okay, that endpoint where those two rays meet is called the vertex. Okay, so that's an angle. An angle is two rays that share an endpoint. Okay, that's an angle. All right. Now, to name this angle, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Okay, you can, first of all, we use the little angle symbol, which looks like that. Sometimes you'll put a little mark on it too, like that. So that's the angle symbol. And then the easiest way to do it is just use the vertex. So this could be angle A. We can use the vertex letter to name that angle, angle A. Okay? Now, the other way we could do it is we can use three letters. Okay? In this case, the vertex letter always has to go in the middle of those. So this would be angle BAC. Those would be the two ways that you could name this angle. Okay? This would be the two ways you can name this angle. Now, the one time where this comes into play, where it's important how you name it, is if there are multiple rays coming off one single vertex. Okay, so if I wanted to name this angle here, I could not just call this angle B. I can't do that. Okay, that doesn't work. All right, because there's multiple angle B's here. This angle here would be angle B. This big angle would also be angle B. Okay, we can't just call that little angle there angle B. So I've got to use the three letters that describe that angle. So in this case, it's going to be these three here. Okay, if we look at it, it's this line and this line are the two rays that make up that angle. Therefore, this would be angle CBD. Okay, we use the three letters starting with on one ray. Again, remember we said the vertex letter is always in the middle. Okay, vertex letter is always in the middle. That's the important part. That vertex letter has to go in the middle. Okay, vertex. All right, and that's it. Okay, so hopefully you learned a little bit about geometry to start here. You got naming all of the different types of letters or different types of figures here. Again, this is going to be one of the most important things we're going to cover in this entire book. So make sure that you get this and understand this quickly, and then do your homework. Good luck.